Hello, sir. I'm not able to hear you. Hello.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, I didn't. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Now I
Good.
can hear.
Yeah, good. So,
Thank you.
Yes.
okay. So, yeah, you should tell me if there's any issues. Okay. Okay. No worries. So, basically, today we are going to cover supply chain management. And yeah, so we have also changed the timing, okay, Saturday 6 to 8 is not feasible. So what time Saturday is guys feasible for you guys?
Yeah, but before that, I think what is the target we are looking for? Because this every semester this is happening in
Yeah,
the
I don't
past
think there's
days, and
much
then
time in the
when
end.
we are at the end,
Yeah, we are almost at
we
the end.
have a lot of issues.
No, I think we are only 1 month, maybe one and a half. We don't have much time. That's what we have to hurry up.
So actually, another thing is
Because
like already MDP has been also
MDBs
planned.
are planned,
I
so
know.
that
Oh, yeah. So whichever day MDP is planned, we will not have that day. And whenever there's MDP is not there in the Saturday, then we will have it. Okay.
okay. So we'll check and then we'll inform you the
Yeah,
date
exactly. Yeah, exactly. If there's
in the
any,
same
no,
time.
you guys can let me
Yeah.
know if there's MDP. So okay, 4 days with.
Thursday and Saturday now the MDPs will be starting.
I know,
Then
yeah. So and it's not necessary that every week we will have it. Sometime I may even have a
yeah,
special tournament. For days of MDP, we will not have it, or we will agree on alternate time if at all we are
yeah.
like. So
So
if
we'll check with and then we'll inform you.
exactly, yeah, let me know and probably and if there's MDP going, people will inform me here. So okay, so that's for days with MDP. Oh no, sorry, we will not have it. Sorry, delete message, delete photo. Yeah, and again, it will be some like if we catch up, then we will cancel it. So it's not necessarily that we will continue it forever, because we are only in unit 2 and it's almost half term gone, right? So that's why, because we missed a lot of lectures, we started late, and sometime I have TT match. So if we have 2 days, probably even if I have a TT match, I can either one of them could be available. Okay, so let's get started again. Sorry about the confusion. Right, so supply chain management, we are going to see what is the supply chain issue and other stuff like that. Okay, okay, how do we go back here? Okay, there you go. Right. So basically, any organization has a lot of incoming things and a lot of outgoing. So the topic is to how do we analyze each layer, like what it adds. So there are many measure of concern, something supplier code of conduct, supplier audits. For different parties, different thing is the priority. And these are the percentage. So basically, many are concerned about supplier code of product conduct, supplier audit, and it's in the degree sustainability standard certification, due diligence, supplier collaboration, environmental impact assessment. And I will not go through each of them. You can actually, when I upload it, you can actually pause the video and see it. Increasing investment and focus, like what people want in supply chain sustainability. So many people are trying to do this. Increasing focus on local supply, increasing focus on small diverse suppliers, decreasing investment in supply chain sustainability, increasing focus on fair play for supply chain worker. And we'll study some case study, how does compliance of code of conduct, another compliance reporting mechanism. So basically we need to, as we have seen, like we have to measure or estimate, like, how do we, supply chain is one of those black box. We may not be able to know, but there are technology available, IoT and other devices, which can exactly pinpoint how we are doing it, or we can estimate it, right? So we have industry standards where we can actually estimate what to do, right? So we will see how both so transport alone, so we need to also see how does supply chain, like, so um, and again the footprint may be different. So considering supply chain alone, where Sonora include Boston, so road at this much, and sea add this much. But if you do the same thing with just road, it is lot more. So it's not that the modes and means matters, right? So if you can clearly see that road is much more environment unenvironment friendly. They release much more CO2 per case of wine. So this is basically it's about a wine study, and they saw that if they go via this means, road and sea, they are reducing it. Like, so they are basically going to the nearest port, and then they are taking a ship, and then they're again going to the nearest port. But if they go by truck, then obviously the CO2 footprint is much higher per case of wine. And there's many ways, like, so different one again, Sona CO2 via sea. Again, this is the same could be looking. So when we are looking into supply chain, everything matters. What is the mean? And also see also everything is not same also. So we will also see SIP, how does it matter? And again, sometimes it is a necessity as well, because you may be offering 1 day shipping, 2 day shipping organization, right? So there's a cost of that. Like, what is your goal with the customer? What kind of service you are providing? So basically, there are many things you offer and many means. And of course, there are many means to choose. How do we want to transfer? We could use a truck, you could use a ship, you could use a different truck, you could use a rail as well. Right. And again, even in the same one, is it polluted one or is it brand new truck? So that also matters, right? It's not only like you can see it's the picture itself depicts like, this is a polluting and releasing more. And again, SIP also, we'll see the SIP exactly, which SIP is that, just to have exactly, or it is a modern SIP which has very less footprint. So not only mode matters, but also which kind of truck was used matters, or which exact ship was used also, that matters, because it's, and again, so how much is a footprint, right? So we need to analyze, again, a different industry will have different. So we have example of banana. So basically, banana farming adds 29% footprint, transport at 36%. You can see that the transport is a major contributor to CO2 emission. Then retailing, like packaging and retailing, costs another 11%. Oh, sorry, packaging is another separate one. Packaging is 9%. And final disposal also causes 15%. So each banana we eat releases 118 grams of CO2 in Boston. And again, it will be different for different cities. Another study is for potash, right? So potash also, we have to excavate it, like you have to mine the potash. And then it goes to many shipping lanes or many transport lines. This is the main highway how potash goes from main distributors to different kind of wholesaler or retailer, whichever is that. And you can see that potash production, like mining, is nothing. Almost there's like it is less than 0.1 CO2 per ton, whereas the shipment actually adds to like almost 10 or 100 times the CO2 emission, right? First of all, it has to go from mining to probably nearest rail, via rail to nearest port, and from nearest port, the sea adds itself, and then from nearest port, it has to go to road, because this has to be now individually transported to individual retailers. So as you can see, the footprint of potash production is nothing. It's all about transport. And you can see this is the highways, so these are the diagram which is available online. We can see like how does it transmit, and this we use because these are standard and we can estimate it, right? So we are using like, hey, likelihood we are using this ship, and this is the footprint of it, because we now need to do all audit. We will check in later reporting, how do we calculate and where does it fit? Like suppose you want credit from government, you have to produce proper audit and proper track record and proper calculation that, hey, this is what we are doing CO2. And again, every item has different impact. Like banana has only 118 grams, but you can see the world consumes so many banana that the actual impact of banana is very huge. It depends not only how much is individual, like how much we do. A sneaker we make, like, you know, again, sneaker we also make a lot of them, even though and again, laptop. So we now know a rough estimation, like if suppose you're buying a laptop for your organization, so you have to add these kind of in your audit, in your calculation, like, hey, if your organization uses 5 laptops, this is industry average we will use, because we don't know the exact. So sometimes you can use an average for the product you're buying for your calculation. Right. So not only it is about CO2, it's also about the suits, and you know, so this guy, the black thing, is causing further Arctic meltdown because of this black. You can see that, you know, it's making the ice black, which makes ice less reflective. So it's not only the impact of CO2, which is speeding up the climate change, it's also about what kind of shipping it has, you know, what kind of pollution control mechanism it has. So some ship will release carbon shoot, which is much more darker, which goes and settle in ice, and of course because it's settled in ice, now it's reflecting less sunlight, which means it's getting warmer faster. So again, we will consider another case study, like every ship is same. So we saw about Saibar, Sinar, Sabang, right? So the same ship, like, you know, this company uses many ships, right? Saibar, and we can also see how much tons they ship, right? So we see they're using Saibar a lot, but its CO2 emission is even lot, like it's almost 50%, even though they are only shipping like say 15%, the CO2 emission by this one ship is almost 50%. So it does, we were talking about, like, you know, so we cannot, in these cases, we cannot use an average, because even though the shipping industry average is low, but because you're using a wrong ship, or a ship, not a wrong ship, this basically may not be your option, right? Maybe it is have to, so, but at least you have to use in your calculation, because you're using, so these ship publish their figures, so we have to use these guys of figures from these ships, like, you know, if you use Sino bridge ship, this is the CO2 emission, and per ton, this is the calculation. So this is one company maritime emission. And this is just a culprit here we are talking about. So these days the data are pretty much available there. We can actually pinpoint to that ship, and we can actually see why, and you can even understand why that ship. You can even talk to your providers and say, hey, can you upgrade your ship, or can you do something about it, if it is possible for you? Like, or you can change your shipping provider if you have a target to reduce. Okay, let's get this guy. And there's other means of actually reducing. So buying products that last longer, or conserving products. So this is another way of supply chain. And many people think it's also a perception thing, what people think strongly. So these are what people think about: strongly agree, somewhat disagree. So, and who about, so there's like silent, baby boomer, Gen X, millennium, and zoomers, right? Neither agree. Change in use of reusable. There are many other ways, like you can use to reusable bag or not usable bag. And of course, there are things about ethical and lawful as well. So sometimes it's a requirement that you, like Europe, they have passed a law that if you are not meeting your guidelines, you have to pay €100 per ton of CO2 emitted. So sometimes it is a law, and sometimes it's also ethical, because many countries don't have it, but it's just ethical to not destroy your own employee health, or your own health, as well as a society health, because, you know, it's impacting not only other people, it's also impacting your employee or consumers. So basically anybody who's buying your product is actually buying not only the product, but it's also buying death from you. You know, so they're sponsoring their own death by buying your product. So those are the feeling which people are getting these days, and they may stop buying your product, because if I buy banana from you, yes, I'm getting feeding my stomach, but I'm also getting cancer from it, because you have such a high CO2 footprint. So shall I buy your product? Because shall I buy death from you? You know, that is a question many will ask consumer, like, you know, and many consumer may not have a chance. He may be poor. He may be accept death as a fact of life, but the basically well-off may say, hey, why should I buy that from this company? And again, it's also about moral, a set of moral principle of value getting. It's also ethical behavior used to recognize social principle involving justice and fairness, treat supplies in just. Now, this we are talking about also justness. How do we do our supply chain? So there are many wrong things of offense we can call in procurement, defective of some standard product. There could be conflict of interest. So many, there could be in hand gloves, like you may buy something wrong just because the guy in charge is doing something, getting some benefit from it. There could be false, inaccurate information. Like we have talked about these figures, which we get it from others, but they may give you the wrong figures, And they could also do bid rigging and collusion, like the vendor may join together and say, hey, this is the price, splitting of orders, personal gains, fictitious invoice. So there are a lot of offenses in procurement which happens these days in supply chain management. And of course, there's also concept of modern slavery, there's a growing concept of 0-hour contract, where we sign up employees and we only give them work when we have work. So there are a growing case of this, and in some cases this is beneficial for both the parties, because some really couldn't get any other, at least something is better. And but these are the things which is going on. So when it comes to labor, so fair wage, ill-treated, so there are a lot of things we have to consider, like work against their wish, modern slavery. So these are the common buzzword we often talk about, which is more about moral and ethical value. Because say China, they have a very strict law, right? You can just outsource your work to China, and they can use their slaves to get your work done, because if they cannot protest there, so, or you can go to Bangladesh, with poor country, or they can go to a slave country like China, or to other countries where they can outsource a lot of labor work, and there the labor has no rights, absolutely. So basically, that's what, as a buyer, you must commit to attention, energy for the organized benefit rather than personal enrichment. That's one thing. Must not accept outside gift, favors, and bribes. Must not be attempted or influenced by unethical practices of salesman. Must not have personal finance arrangements. So these are, as a buyer, this is the things you have to keep in mind. Buyer must act ethically towards suppliers and potential suppliers. Treat supplier professionally and with respect. Buyer must uphold ethical standards set forth by organizers. So there are many times there's international standards. If you are especially supplying it to free countries, Western countries, there are a lot of very high standards you have to follow. And these are the wrong practices which we willful use of information, exaggerating problem, requesting bids from unqualified suppliers solely to drive down prices from qualified. So you could also use these guys to ask for less price, draining information unfairly through deceptions, accepting suppliers' favors, property, personal buying, financial conflicts of interest, personal conflicts of interest, disclosure, confidential and proprietary information. These are the so this is one example. A buyer places an order with a supplier to purchase material used to build buyer's house. This is example of, so what kind of example is this one, right? So accepting supplier favor, reciprocity, personal buying. So basically, this is basically a lot of things, like a personal conflict of interest, personal buying, because you have a deal, because as a corporate, you could have a deal, but you're using the deal for your own personal means. Like you could make this available to all your employees, then it doesn't become unethical. But if you just use it for yourself, then of course it's a conflict of interest. So there are ways, like if you negotiated a better, like DHL courier service, you could basically pass it to all your employees just to use yourself, because you're in a procurement department, right? And again, that's what you have to, it's not everything is 0-1, like whether moral. So basically, we know information gathering, analyzing, risk identification, risk evaluation, collect, review, via survey, interview, consider key risk area, country risk, remote possible. And this is how we do impact study, like, low. So what is the probable impact and what is the probability, like, and then we make a decision based on this probability chart, like, hey, probably we'll go with these three kind of suppliers. These are like for making decisions. Setting our objective. Okay. Okay, let's go. Right. So basically, this is how we setting out objective and governance, communicating expectation to supplier, supply chain due diligence, select engage supplier, supply chain performance evaluation, monitoring capacity development, and end of contract. So this is how we do supply chain management, right? So, right. So this is supply chain management, and we will come to packaging. So what we will do is we will disconnect call now because I'm running out of time. You can join the call again right away. Okay. So I will start, then I will stop the recording. So we will probably, I will join in like 5 or 10 minutes till the video recording is saved. Okay. We'll see you in 5 minutes. Okay. 5 or 10 minutes. Okay. But same link.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's stop this guy. How do I stop this? Stop share.